Okay, so The Last Duel. It's directed by Ridley Scott. It stars Matt Damon, Adam Driver, and Jodie Comer. Set in medieval France, it tells the story of the last legally sanctioned duel in France's history. So I went into this movie completely cold. I hadn't seen a trailer, an ad, none of the marketing at all. Zero buzz, zero hype. I had no idea this film existed until the day I saw it. So me and my girlfriend wanted to see something in the cinema after Sydney had been in lockdown for 114 days. So this is what we agreed on. I really like Adam Driver, so his involvement kind of tipped the balance for me. I was surprised to see that Ridley Scott directed this, and watching it seemed like a really different movie for him to tackle. I mean, the gritty and violent battle scenes are the only giveaway that this is Scott's movie. But they aren't the focus at all. This is like a period drama, and it feels something Merchant Ivory would produce. So to be honest, the first half hour of this film is really off-putting. I couldn't hide my derision of the film. I was giggling at it and rolling my eyes. It's kind of a stilted, awkward series of scenes with Matt Damon with an offensive mullet playing Shakespeare in the Park. Then there's Ben Affleck, who sticks out in a kind of hilarious way with bleach blonde hair and a blonde goatee, and we've got American and English accents all clashing with each other. What was I meant to take away from all this? You know, the story at first seems to be centered around Damon's character, Jacques, who is a fierce warrior who fights beside Driver's Jean de Grise. There was a lot of bizarre editing at first, and we jump in time in very peculiar ways. We have one scene where Jean and Jacques are conversing and then cut straight to them greeting each other again, presumably weeks or months later, with very little in the way of transitional scenes or explanation. It all felt very mediocre and low stakes. I was looking at my girlfriend and very close to just walking out. But at around the 45-minute mark, the movie changes and reveals its hand. I didn't know any of this going in, but this is like a story told in 3 chapters. Chapter 2 is now Jean's truth as we go back to the beginning of the events and see everything from his perspective. This explained the strange editing in the beginning because we were only seeing Jacques' scenes butted against each other. Now we would see the events from Jean's perspective and the 3rd chapter from Marguerite's perspective. The initial drama between Jacques and Jean is a real slog to get through. It's dry and complex and uninteresting, but it's all there to set up the eventual sexual assault of Marguerite by Jean and the ensuing duel that Jacques demands in order to take revenge on his former friend. So what The Last Duel does perfectly in my mind is represent the patriarchal society that is at the center of the thesis. Jodie Comer is exceptional in the role of Marguerite, and the film excels in chapter 3, following her journey of events, and we get a first-hand look at the oppression women experienced in that time in history. A woman coming forward with rape charges was rare, and she is pressured to stay quiet for the good of the family. I could absolutely see the parallels in our society today, as in many scenarios, it's better for women to stay quiet about sexual assault, and in that way, the treatment of women in society hasn't changed a great deal. The duel to the death between Jacques and Jean is actually incredible. A real standout moment in the film. Scott is in fine form and is able to make the fight brutal and gruesome and what you'd expect Scott to be able to nail. The spectacle is great and the tension has been building up for the entire film, and that's really effective. We've been told the same events 3 times already, and at last we see what the outcome will be. The stakes are dizzyingly high, so the fight has great impact. The Rashomon structure didn't really seem to add enough to the film for me as a whole. I even questioned whether this structure was scripted or if it was a decision made in post-production, because it didn't seem to hold up. Like, what I wanted and expected was the same events being told in starkly different ways, but that's not what we got. It seemed like the important events in the story were told virtually identical to each other. The rape scene is harrowing the first time, but for some reason we are asked to watch the whole scene in full for a second time, when there is no material difference in the tellings. This felt really gratuitous and just not necessary. So, do I recommend The Last Duel? Well, it's a hesitant recommend. If you're a fan of Jodie Comer or Adam Driver, they do fantastic work here. If you're a fan of Ridley Scott, I'd pass, because I'm astonished he signed on, and it seems like he's just picking up a paycheck on this one. If you're a fan of Ridley Scott, I'd actually recommend you watching the final duel when it pops up on YouTube and just watch it for free. I have to say, the film overall, it did end up being quite thought-provoking for me, but it was perhaps too little too late. I give The Last Duel 6 out of 10. I'm really interested to know what you guys thought of The Last Duel. What did you think of the structure? What did you think of the hairstyles? Did Matt Damon and Ben Affleck together kind of distract you from the film? Let me know what you thought in the comments. Cheers, guys.